All right, let's try this. Definitely the previous one was set to private.
Okay.
So it was just you and me watching our live together.
Nice. Nice.
Well, we should be good now. But yeah, I have yet to use a glass or blended blank that I liked.
Mhm.
And when I was still, I used the other brand. I was,
Right.
used Dobbins like exclusively for 7 years. And man, we went through and tried a bunch, and I don't know, man. I feel like that was one they never got right, and it was because they chose to try to keep sticking it out with that composite blank,
Right.
the blended blank, and it's just
Mhm.
I don't know. I
Is it
like
just like a little too mushy for what you're looking
it's
for?
mushy. It's got too much give, and I feel like for me personally, when I'm throwing a chatterbait, I'm usually throwing it around some form of cover.
Right.
Hydrilla, eelgrass, milfoil, something. Very seldom am I ever out throwing a chatterbait in open water
Right.
unless I'm, stroking it on a shell bar or, in running water or something like that, which I've caught some
Mhm.
big fish doing that. But the grass application for a chatterbait and a glass rod just doesn't seem to work for
Right.
me. You go to snap it out of the grass and the rod just goes,
Yeah, and the chatterbait doesn't move.
yeah, and the chatterbait doesn't move. The rod absorbs everything you just tried to, you know, and so
Mhm.
you wind up exhausting yourself over the period of several hours of doing an excessive amount of reeling and snatching. Whereas
Right.
you take a real light, crispy 7.3, 7.4, 100% carbon fiber rod or graphite rod that's, really light and fast and snappy. And to me, it just kind of snaps a jig out of the grass better.
Right. Yeah, I'm literally the same way. So I'm interested to see what you think of like what we come up with.
Now, I will
But
say this for me, a lipless crankbait does better on a glass rod, though.
right.
I've had some short glass rods before that I would rather throw the trap on instead of a, a solid graphite rod.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
for
I
sure.
feel like you don't throw as many fish off the treble hooks when you've got the glass blend.
Right. Right. So our like original chatter trap is a 7.4. And some guys like throwing a chatterbait on that rod, but that rod's a little bit, for me, it's a little soft. Or like I was fishing tournaments and like my co or whatever would net the fish, the hook was coming out. So I never
Yeah.
got hook penetration.
Yeah.
So then I came out with the 2.0, which is a very similar rod, but it's just got a little bit more like backbone. It's got that little more to get the hook, penetrated.
Yeah.
Um, and that's been very popular, like in Central Florida, Harris chain, Toho chain, around that eelgrass and the hydrilla and the thicker grass, and it just overall, like you're casting 60, 70 yards out and you get bit at the end of a cast to still get that penetration, you know. So
Ever
the
since I
other
started doing the rod review stuff for the SCENKO 6 rods, that's probably the number one rod that I get more people ask me questions about is they ask about that chatter trap rod. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I personally don't have any. I would hit up Alex and ask him, you
Yeah,
know?
it's become super popular, man. But the OG 7.4 chatter trap is like my favorite rattle trap rod because you're getting similar characteristics to like a glass or a blended blank. It's super parabolic. It's a really thin blank, but it has thick walls. And it's just I freaking love that rod. But like I said, for a chatterbait, not as much because I wasn't getting the hook penetration. But I do throw a mini max on that rod with success versus like
Mm.
your regular size chatterbait. I wasn't having the best hookup, so that's what I used the 2.0 for.
Do you like the Mini Max?
I kind of make my own. I pour the heads on one of my own hooks because the
Mm.
stock Mini Max has like a super small hook.
Tiny little hook.
Yeah, and they come off on that thing.
Yeah.
So I have a I think it's a size 3 Gamakatsu spinnerbait hook that I put on there. And I think JB's got a couple of chatterbaits that I've made. Have you used his? I know his blank actually for a chatterbait is a blend, so you probably wouldn't like it.
I have I don't know if I've actually fished with any of that stuff that JB has.
Hmm.
He always brings. He's got a full arsenal of Senko STIX rods that he brings on the boat when he comes with me. And I know he's always got a chatter trap rod on there, but I don't know that I've ever actually used it or fished with it.
Yeah, he's got one of like the very, very first ones. I think it says chatterbait on it. And that's actually a blended, it's got like a little bit of composite in there. So we've kind of made like a few adjustments. That's why I said we have like several different variations of it, but it really has come down to like the 7.4 chatter trap and then the chatter trap 2.0, which is a 7.6. And I'm thinking you'd probably like the 2.0, but cut down to a 7.3 or a 7.4.
So you guys are building the current chatter trap is a 7.6.
The 2.0, yeah.
That's a big rod.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
That's designed for Lake Okeechobee chatterbait fishing,
Yeah,
where
for
the
sure.
next fish that eats your chatterbait could be 8+.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially have you fished Okeechobee much in the last like 2 years? Even 3 years?
Last time I was on Okeechobee was the November after Hurricane Irma for Extreme Championship.
Oh dang.
That was a while ago, and the lake was pretty bad, buddy. It was solid chocolate milk mud everywhere, and there was
Yeah.
all the cattails in the lake were rolled up and on the bank. You could see them everywhere. Like there was no more hard wall. The hurricane removed the hard wall,
Right.
and golly,
I
man,
remember.
that was a
Yeah.
rough event. I mean, really rough event. Chris Maxwell, local hammer stick here in the area, he wound up winning that tournament. Golly, man, I think like with something like 16 or 17 a day.
Dang.
Yeah, it was rough. And supposedly throwing a spinner bait out off the outside reeds of King's Bar. I don't
Okay.
know. We had a decent bag each day, but we were fishing. So where the lock is for Taylor Creek, there's a water control structure just to the west of it. Like if you come out of the river and you hang a hard left,
Right.
you run. We ran the inside trail past the pier,
Okay.
headed towards that lock, that's Taylor Creek, right?
Yeah.
First lock. So just before you get to it, there's a big water release structure, and that's what they use. They'll fire the pumps up and pump the water out of the rim ditch into the lake right there. And man, we just sat there every day because like each day around noon, you'd hear the little flappers on the exhaust pipes for the generator start pinging. And
Right.
dude, that water would go to boiling out of that structure right there into the lake, and it was on, but nothing big enough. That was literally, I was down there for man like 4 days practicing, and
Mhm.
golly, it was rough. I haven't been back since. I'm sure the lake has gotten a lot better since then, but it's not it's not the Lake Okeechobee that I grew up fishing, going down there with my grandfather, and we would always go and just have an insane stellar day behind King's Bar and all the hydrilla,
Yeah.
or we would run to back then it was called Fish Eating Creek. I don't even know if there's a creek anymore there to be called Fish Eating Creek. Isn't all that vegetation like gone? Like
It's
Moonshine's
pretty
gone, Fish Eating Creek is gone. That's all gone now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much gone. Did you see when the elites were here earlier this year?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like this. I think it was the second day, and John Cox was punching those mats. So that was back there.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like there's big like lily pad fields now, and there was just some hyacinths pushed in there, but the bottom is all like it's no good throughout the whole way, like pretty much all the way to the back of the creek. But it changes so much year to year. That's why I asked if like you went the last 2 or 3 years,
Nope.
because bringing it back to the chatter trap 2.0, we were fishing like dead cattail stick ups. There were these areas where they dropped. I don't think that they sprayed it. I think they dropped pellets, I guess, from a helicopter. I'm not exactly too knowledgeable on all the ways that they kill the grass nowadays. But they dropped pellets, I'm assuming, over like a specific, maybe like a 500-600 yard square. And there were several of them like down south, on the west side of the lake near Harney Pond, and they killed it all off. So everything was dead. And a couple of buddies of mine pretty much came up with the conclusion that when that stuff was dying off, it was dying off and it was giving off nutrients, and the nutrients was like spiking gizzard shad growth. So the amount of bait around this dead, like these dead stick ups and dead cattails, was insane. And remember a couple years ago, all those, there was like 20 bags over 30 pounds. I mean, Jen and I fished a tournament. We had 36 and we got second place. And dude, we threw back 10 fish over 6.22 that day. Our smallest was 624. I've never seen anything like that in my life, and every fish came on a poppin' frog around those dead stick ups. But it was either like poppin' frog, and if a front would come through, you'd just be throwing a chatterbait through those dead stick ups. And that 2.0 was like, it came to life during that like era of the lake. But all that stuff it just went to mush. The decaying stuff didn't give off nutrients anymore, so the bait doesn't return there anymore. There's not near as much bait, so other areas have been kind of producing of the
Now,
lake.
was that like the same deal that Scott Martin set that
Exactly.
record off of? Wasn't he catching like spawning fish off of those dead cattail clump, like the bases of them?
Yeah,
He could
Eric,
like see
we
them on perspective or something.
exactly. So it was probably about 18 months before Scott won that tournament. Jen and I had 36 on that head. He caught those two big ones off. Dude, that head, we fished it for I fished an ABA probably when I first kind of figured out the area. I mean, everybody knows what diastitch is on Okeechobee, but diastitch is like as the hard lines kind of broke down, you know, the same general migrational pattern of the fish kind of stays the same, but they'll relocate. So if that hydrilla and the eelgrass is not there anymore, they may be 500 yards, east, south, north, or west, wherever it is. Um, but that area, the way that it's set up, it didn't really look fishy, so nobody really ran by it. It didn't like it. I told one buddy about it, and he's like, "Dude, what brought you to this area?" And really, what brought me to the area was, okay, it's March. I used to catch them at Die Stitch 15 years ago. They got to be somewhere in the area, so I put the trolling motor on 100, and I happened to find like a magical head, and I had it to myself for a really long time. And then you know how it goes. Tournaments go. You have a co-angler, word spreads. Next thing you know, there's like 50, 60 boats. I couldn't believe how many boats were there when Scott won. That was insane. But that area was magical, man. It was super special.
It'll probably never be the same after that tournament, though.
No, dude, we 10 fish over 622. I've never like at the end of the day, it was probably 2:30 in the afternoon, 2:15, and I caught one over 7. I set up on it and my entire body started cramping. I had to give the rod to Jen so she could finish reeling in the fish. Because
Jeez.
we caught so many giants, man. And it's like, when you get into a rhythm and you're getting a bite every other cast and it's a big bite like that, you're not eating, you're not drinking, like
No.
you're fishing, We were
Yeah.
fishing hard and it was I'll never forget that day, man. It was sick.
Get into that. Yeah. So were you that day? You were throwing the 7.6, the 2.0
That day,
chatter trap.
so that exact day we caught him on a frog, but I fished a Toyota there probably 2 months prior to that, and I ended up finishing sixth in that one. And the first 2 days, I caught them all in the Chatter Trap 2.0 with just like a golden shiner with a half ounce. It was crazy. Like if you'd have wind blowing into that area, you go with a half ounce, and then if you had wind blowing out of that area, you'd have to go to a 3/8 because dude, guys were losing like 15 to 20 chatterbaits a day. After day one of the Toyota, I think I lost 8 or 9 chatterbaits. I made the commute, so I was driving about an hour to Clewiston every day. I went to my parents' house. I poured 15 chatterbaits. After day two, I lost like another 10 or 11. I broke off because that stuff was like, it wasn't deep enough to where you could, or it wasn't shallow enough to where you can like grab it with your hand and pull the chatterbait out. Um, and and I was using 14-pound fluoride. I was getting the bites with 14 that I wasn't getting with 17 or 20. So you know how that
What?
goes. Sometimes you downsize a little bit.
Oh
I
my
wasn't breaking off
God.
on fish though. I didn't break off on fish. It was only when I got stuck. So those 2 days,
Still, man, that's
I caught them pretty good on the Chatter Trap 2.0, and then the third day, uh, dude, Jesse Mizell ended up winning that tournament, but a big wave of fish moved in at like 10 a.m. It was I caught 2 sixes back to back. My didn't have a bite yet. I threw him a red ear scroll poppin' frog, and he caught an 8 and a 6 in like 5 minutes, and he ended up winning the boat.
Hmm.
He won the boat.
Shame on you for throwing that Spro popping frog to your co-angler.
Man, I was just trying to help him out, dude. I'm glad I did
Oh,
because
you helped him out.
I got a pretty cool relationship with him now. His dad is really nice too, he deserved it, man. It was a fun day. But I had 4 fish, like, over 6 pounds come off. Like, I had it on the line that day. But I know Jesse also, I mean, he's like a frog master, and that's what they were on that final day. He ended up winning the Toyota again the following year. But it was just, you know how it goes, man. One fish, I tried a boat flip, it hit the trolling motor. I should have never done that. That was like a $6,000 fish.
You never go for the bounce with that much money on the line.
Dude, I know. But it was my first Toyota. First Toyota, like, a lot of stuff was going on in my life with the business at the time. Like, the after the f during the first day of the Toyota, I couldn't make the closing for the house that we're in now. So, like, my dad was with Jen, and, like, there was just a lot going on, and, first Toyota series, I was nervous as heck. Like, the first day, I didn't have a fish in the boat till, like, 1 o'clock. I lost a bunch of fish.
Woo.
And then I kinda pulled it together the last, hour and a half. I caught a good enough limit. I think I was sitting in, like, 26th after the first day or something like that. It was a tough day overall, but then I made a pretty good jump to the second day, and then I made a bigger jump on that final day. But that was a fun tournament though. But yeah, all that stuff now is pretty much decayed and it's gone, and it just hasn't been like last year. It didn't produce at all. So, but if you would have fished a lake like 2 years ago, you would have known about it. Everyone just calls it the dead stuff. It was called like Dead Reed Bay, and it was all over the south end, and then over in Harney Pond too, that Dice Ditch area.
Mm,
So,
that's
so
funny.
now everyone's just looking for dead stuff on the lake, like fresh.
Now,
It's
now,
got to
so
be like
now you
12.
guys are all down there hoping that they come and spray.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oof.
No, I mean, you know that they've kept it low. I know when we were talking a few months ago, I was telling you about the flipping bite, how it was out there when it dropped, and it was a really, really good jig bite for a couple months. And then it's been in like that 10 and a half to 12 and a half range the last couple months. So a lot of like shrimp grass has returned. Hearing some reports of like eelgrass, a little bit of hydrilla up north. A lot of guys get hydrilla mixed up with shrimp grass. I mean, there's a pretty significant difference between the
Yeah.
two. So everyone's like, "Oh, there's hydrilla all over the south end," and there's no hydrilla down south. It's all shrimp grass.
See, I
But
hear people call all sorts of grass hydrilla.
yeah,
I've seen guys at the boat ramp talking about eelgrass being hydrilla.
oh man,
Milfoil is hydrilla. Coontail is hydrilla.
yeah,
If it grows under the water, it's hydrilla. I'm like, no, that's not hydrilla, bud.
yeah. Yeah, so it's one of those things now. There's a bunch of new, new growth, which is good. So I mean, I guess we just got to hope that there's not a hurricane and it doesn't come up too fast, and we'll see.
Yeah, that's me. I got a little lake over here by the house that I fish quite a bit and catch a lot of giant fish out of there. The lake fish is a lot better when it's got a pretty substantial like hard wall of cattails around it. It
Hmm.
actually gives those fish like something to relate to. In the last couple of years, every year a hurricane or two comes through and rips all those cattails out of that thing, and then it gets really tough. And
Right.
I've been going out there the last couple of weeks, and it's getting thick with cattails, and I'm like, oh please, please, no hurricanes,
Hopefully
please.
it'll reset. Yeah.
Yeah, if I could just get like to the winter, like the cold months, with
Right.
those cattails being out there, well, then I'll have a good shiner fishing lake for guide trips, like right here close to the house on a lake that's full of giant fish.
Yeah.
It'd be nice instead of having to drive, an hour and a half to Toho every day.
Right. Is that your commute, hour and a half?
Yeah, so it didn't used to be. It is now because of traffic.
Okay.
Um, 10 years ago, I could leave my house and be at Southport on Lake Toho in 35 minutes.
Dang.
Now, because of traffic through Lake Alfred and Haines City and Davenport and going through Point Siena, and I know you don't know any of these places, but it's pretty much bumper to bumper traffic the whole way there in the morning.
And that's even like before first light. It's
Oh
that
yeah.
bad.
Oh yeah. That's all these people that have moved around here trying to get to work on time.
Dang.
Yeah. So it's
Sounds like
great.
Miami.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. We've already covered some cool stuff. I did not know that Alex, who started Senko sticks and builds Senko sticks, also makes his own lures.
Yeah,
That's a
say
pretty neat little deal. And not just any lure, makes his own custom mini max chatterbait.
yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you like the mini max more than a jackhammer, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I started really what drove me to make my own chatterbaits was the cost of a jackhammer and how good it really was. I mean, I think most people, everyone has a favorite chatterbait, but I think most people can kind of agree that the jackhammer, as far as like bite count, hookup ratio, is like one of the better chatterbaits that's available. So I'd have like a buddy, man, cast past my head in a pool, and I was just getting like different sounds. I was getting blades, like all that stuff was I was getting off like Alibaba, different chatterbait blades, different thicknesses, bending them in a different way, drilling out different size holes. I was just trying to figure out how to make a little bit something that just sounded a little different, that was still loud and erratic, and could still get the good hookup ratio and still swim through vegetation good as well. So that's kind of what drove me to do it. So I started making chatterbaits, man, all different types of heads, changing it up, and then I kind of dialed one in, man, and never made a change to it again. And then obviously when the Mini Max came out, I was like, well, this hook is kind of small. I'm losing a lot of fish, but it's getting bit. So I just kind of took, like I said, that Gamakatsu size 3 spinnerbait hook, the same, 3/8 ounce head or half ounce or whatever, and it's been working. I think we did like a we did like a little mini max spotlight thing with Gambler Lures, and a bunch of people were asking like who makes it, but it was the mini max with their new like Komodo Junior on the back of it, and it's really like the same head and everything. It's just a smaller hook and then a smaller blade. I take the blade from the Z-Man Mini Max because I haven't been able to find those exact blades.
That's pretty cool.
So
That's pretty cool. A man of many talents. Well, dude, let's get into a couple of questions that I've got for you.
all right,
Start with number one. Who got you into bass fishing? How old were
that
you and who got you into bass fishing?
I was I can't really put an age on it. I was walking, and it was my dad. We used to live in Boca Raton, Florida, in South Florida, and I was probably 3 or 4 years old, and my parents didn't live on a lake at the time, but there was a lake like across the street. It was on a. Are you familiar with 441?
Relatively. So I worked a storm. One of my first jobs I ever had, I worked for a roofing company that traveled and chased storms all over.
Okay.
And we worked a hurricane down there. I don't remember what hurricane it was. It was a long time ago. I was like 19. So you're talking, 50 years ago.
Hmm.
Uh, we were in Boca Raton, West Palm Beach area. And
Okay.
so, yeah.
So 441 it was pretty much like at the time it was just like a one-way road. There was like nothing out there, and there was just a pond out in front of a neighborhood, and that's the pond that my dad used to always take me to. And yeah, he got me into fishing. I remember the first cast to catch fish that I probably caught on my own. I was 6 years old. For whatever reason, my dad was letting me use a popper, and we moved. So we moved when I was 5. So I was 6 years old, and we moved to a house that was on a lake. Caught my first bass, like cast a catch by myself on a popper on a Sunday morning. Took the bass, ran into my parents' house, ran upstairs, woke them up, and was holding the bass like in their bedroom. And I was ecstatic. It was on a spinning rod, and I mean, my dad had a popper tied on. I don't know how I was working it. Obviously, I wasn't working it, the way that most of us work a popper today, but I did catch a nice one, and that was like a good like first memory. But my dad, he drove me to fishing since day one.
Did something right with Pop R. That's
So
funny.
yeah.
That's a pretty similar story for me. Uh, when we were young, we lived in an apartment complex over in Clearwater for a little while, and there was a pond, little retention pond in that apartment complex, and me and my brother would go down there and literally wade out into this pond. Like
Mhm.
I'm talking 6 and 7 years old, wading like neck deep in a retention pond, casting June bug ribbon tail worms around, and I caught one that I don't even know where it's at. It is not one of these, but I have it mounted. My grandfather got it mounted for me, and
That's
it was like a
awesome.
4 or 5 pounder or something like that. Same thing. I ran all the way back to the apartment, went inside, and I'm just like, look, I got one, I got one. And we put it in the bathtub. We filled the bathtub full of water and put
Oh
it in
my
the bathtub,
god.
and that's where she stayed until my grandfather got her. And because we had to call my grandfather, and he came over because he's my fishing hero or whatever, and he came
Mm.
over, and of course she was dead in the bathtub and went in the freezer and we got.
Oh man.
Either way, that's funny how it seems like we all kind of have like a similar story about how
Yeah,
we got into bass fishing a relatively similar way.
it is. And then it's like, that you're the first person that I've ever heard say like that you brought the fish back home too. But like, you know, the next steps are like as you grow older, you get into that John boat and then you figure out how to or like a kayak and then the John boat and this and that, and you figure out like more and more and more. And then next thing you know, you're full blown like just crazy about it.
Next
It's
thing you
like it
know, you're
never
towing
stops.
an $80,000 bass boat to the boat ramp in a $100,000 pickup truck.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's bass fishing for you.
Yeah, without a doubt.
All right, well, dude, my next question is it's kind of the when, why, and where of starting Senko sticks.
Okay.
What was the year? Where did it start? And my biggest question for me personally is why did you decide to undertake a rod building company? What started the whole man? I want to start building my own rods, and start building rods for everybody.
Yeah. So I started building it's close to 10 years now. And I had some rods built by a guy in Orlando. And this is a crazy story because this was never the plan to start a business, to sell rods. Like it was never the plan. Never had like any kind of intention to make a business out of it. Really, in the beginning, I had no intentions to build rods for anybody. Anytime a friend asked me, it was like, man, I got to take the power wrapper out. I got to put it together. It's going to take me 10 hours to build this thing. Like it was really like, and I had I had a job and I had other things that, going on in my life too. So it was just a very time consuming thing. So I never wanted to do it. But so I had rods built by a guy in Orlando, and at the time he was using mud hole blanks. And I fished my first ABA. I want to say it was like um, 2015, maybe 2016. It was one of the first ABAs on Okeechobee, and I was in that Harney Pond area. It's probably 10:30 in the morning. I had a limit of fish. I had 14 or 15 pounds. A storm was coming. I went to go hop up on plane to run my stretch like half a mile. I'm making a U-turn. I didn't have a co-angler that day. So the way that I had the net positioned on my boat, for whatever reason, the net was underneath all of the rod butts, the lip of the net. You can see where this is going. I make that U-turn, dude, and the storm's coming through, and like it's already starting to, the chop is building up, and I hit a wave, and it lifted every single rod that I had on the deck and flipped them all into the middle of Harney Pond, like 8 foot of water. Now it's already like squalling, it's blowing 25 miles an hour, like it's storms on any big lake that you could imagine. And dude, I lost everything.
Mm.
So try to reach out to the guy, couldn't get a hold of him. Something happened with him. He just wasn't building rods anymore. And then I reached out to like Chris Adams at Mudhole because I had a good idea of what all the labels were on the rods and which models they were and whatnot because the guy was using Mudhole blanks, so he's putting like the Mudhole label on that rod. So I reached out to a couple of guys like Hunter McCamey, Chris Adams, John Cox was with him at the time, and John Cox like gave me some pointers at the time, what glue to use and whatnot, what blanks were good for what techniques and all that. And dude, I was gonna get a kit, and then Jesse Rudolph, I saw Jesse at like a BFL, and he was like, "Oh, I'll build you, I'll build you a couple of rods." So he built me a couple of rods, and I was like, "Well, will you build me more?" And he was like, "Dude, it's super time consuming. I'll give you my kit. I don't have time to do it." So Jesse gave me a kit. I got linked up with Chris from Mudhole. I did like the whole like pro staff thing. I just like I sent in a resume and I got the wholesale account for rod building supplies, and I built myself a set of 15 rods, and my first rod took me 16 hours to build. And that was kind of like why I never wanted to build them for anyone, because it took me so long. But really, because I liked those rod blanks at the time, and I just kind of liked being able to just pick what I wanted to on the rod, different handle lengths. I just kind of started to experiment a little bit more with guide spacing, different kind of components, and I really learned a ton, just like going off of my first build. And then it was like, okay, build a next one, and then my next one. And I ended up with about 15 for like, and I was good for 2 years before I took out the power wrapper again. And again, it was one of those things that I would only build a rod if something happened to mine, or if I needed to repair, a guide or something like that. But it wasn't like I didn't want to build rods. So fast forward to pretty much COVID. Um, Within that time, I built like 3 or 4 people a couple rods, and they were like, "Dude, these rods are legit. You should, consider starting a business." And I was like, "Well, if you look at component cost and you look at the time that it takes to build a rod, it's not a lucrative thing to get into." So I started doing like a lot of research online and whatnot, and every forum was like, "Don't start a rod business. If you're going to build rods, take that little bit of profit that you're making and put it towards your fishing addiction to buy, baits, lures, line, all that stuff." Um, so when COVID rolled around, I built myself a few rods because the business that I was working with my dad, he owned a property management company. We were deemed non-essential, so we weren't allowed in the neighborhood. It was all 55 plus. I think one of the first cases of COVID, like in South Florida, came from like one of our customers at the time, which is pretty crazy. So we weren't allowed into the neighborhood. So what I did was I fished like 5 days a week. I was driving out to the lake every single day. And then I was just building myself some rods, and I was putting stuff on my personal Instagram at the time. And it was just like people were like, "Hey, will you build me one?" And at that point, I was like, "Okay, I'm going to start building them." I had a really good buddy, Josh, who I had built. That was one of the people that I built a rod for. He lives down south. Not much of like he didn't fish too many like bigger tournaments. He mainly stayed like in the club tournament scene, but tremendous fisherman. And I mean, dude, I owe a lot to that guy because he would find he'd be the kind of guy who if he saw someone at Dick's Sporting Goods like picking up another rod, he'd be like, "Dude, call my buddy Alex, let him build you a rod, give him a try." And it was like Josh would come over with 4 rod orders. I'd build the rods. It'd take me a couple weeks. He'd pick up the rods. He would deliver them for me, bring me the cash, and go get me more rod orders. And dude, it just spidered out. And it got to a point where when COVID started like, simmering down, the neighborhoods opened back up. And there was one day where I was checking homes, and I called my dad, and my dad's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm checking key ring 6." I had a route where I checked 40 apartments or whatever. Um, and he's like, "I fired your ass." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You didn't check your email?" I said, "No." He goes, "Son, your ass, I fired your ass." That's exactly how he said it. So Jen and I just started dating. We're 2 weeks in. So I gotta tell her at dinner that my dad just fired me. We
My
just started
dad just
dating.
fired me.
Yeah,
Golly.
we just started dating. So she was like, "Can you make it with the fishing rods?" And I was like, "I got no choice. I have to." And dude, like fight or flight kicked in from that day, and we haven't stopped since, Eric. It slowly, she was working at a restaurant as at the time as like a bartender and a manager. So it turned into she started working part-time. She started doing more of she hated the rod building like in general. She never wanted a wrap guide, she never wanted a glue handle. She didn't want anything to do when it came to actually like assembling a fishing rod, but she was very skilled when it came to photography, videography, you just editing in general. And she just has a really good creative mind when it comes to brand growth. And I guess like she was never really that aware of it either. I always liked working with my hands, so the assembly part I had no problems with, but it kind of turned into her taking, like missing a couple of shifts and then going into part-time, and then it was like, oh, okay, now we got to go full-time. And it's just like one thing after the next, man, and we just kept going. And I never, like, still sometimes to this day, like, I sit in here and I'm like, dang, like, this is where we're at. But when you get caught up in that momentum of like go 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 go, you don't really, sometimes you don't sit and you're not really present with what actually has, happened over the years. But dude, it feels like I got that email from my dad yesterday. Like, he he called me, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I remember everything. Like, I remember sitting in the car and calling Jen and telling her, "Hey, like, I'm not, like, my dad's serious. Like, he's done." Like, whenever he said he was done with something, he was done. So, that's how Senko Sticks became a thing, honestly. Like, I've
Had
always
no
loved working
choice.
with. Yeah, I mean, really, at one point, it was like we had no choice, man. And I've always loved working with my hands, and I've always wanted to like come out with a product. I was making jigs and all that stuff, but I just never knew what it was. And I didn't know it was going to be in the fishing industry. I never wanted to like fish at a professional level and do the traveling thing. Like, I never wanted to do that. Um, but it all just kinda like the perfect storm of everything came together, and it blew up, man. And then obviously, like, we got tremendous support from the local community, and every tournament, man, I had between 5 and 25 rods before takeoff. If I was fishing a tournament with my dad or Sam or Jen, I'd be, idling around to every boat, and Sam, my dad, or Jen would just hand everyone rods. I don't fish with that many people, so that's why I'm naming them, them three. But they would just be handing everybody rods before every single tournament, and it was just, word of mouth from there. It just, it's crazy. It's crazy how it all went down, man. It's awesome. And then, there's just like any business, like I had to kind of learn how to be a business. So many times, even up until 6 months ago, you could look at, all the numbers, because we got so much support from the home that we're in now, the shop. I mean, the entire fishing community pretty much built the shop that we're in right now. So we got a tremendous amount of help, but it got to the point where, like, okay, like, this is business. We have to look at these numbers. We have to look at the component costs. We have to look at your overhead and everything and see if this is really profitable, and if you can make it go somewhere. Because there's been so many times where I'm like, man, this is like, it's not working. I still to this day, I still do owe my parents some money from our very first blank order we ever made. So it's been a crazy journey, but we're really like, the momentum has really started to kick in lately. And it's given me like a whole new drive of, pushing forward. But it, by no means, it hasn't been easy, man. And it's, again, it was never my intention to build rods for the fishing community, but I love what we're doing now, man. And I feel like I'm just getting started right now. So it's pretty
It's
cool.
it's dude, it's been crazy to see what it's turned into. Because although I wasn't using them for a few years, I knew who you were. I
Mhm.
knew about the Rod brand, and I've kind of watched it grow, and it really feels like this year it's just like it's taken off. Like, and it's been really cool to see that growth. But it's kind of neat to hear the backstory about why you started Cinco Sticks, and it kind of makes me wonder if maybe Pops didn't kind of have a method to his madness for firing you. He's like, man, force this boy to take off
Yeah,
with it, because like as of right now, was it not the best thing that ever happened to you to get fired?
no, without a doubt, man. But it's, so my dad fired me, and at the time, like, when I talked to my mom about it today, she she thinks that the rods would have he thought that the rods would have never worked. He,
Really?
like, to be honest, yeah. So, but it wasn't until, so I was building rods in my apartment when we started, and it wasn't until, like, I really started getting more and more orders to where I was like, dang, like, I have two roommates. I can't take up the entire living room. The power wrapper's out all the time. Like, I have all these blanks stored here now. Like, so when I talked to my parents and they were okay with us bringing everything into their living room, It wasn't until my dad saw people come by, like, consistently picking up rods and me meeting strangers to where my dad was like, "Dang, like, he's got something that works." And when he like and that didn't take that long, maybe it was 6 months. Dude, at that point, they backed me. I mean, they supported me always because they let me go into their living room to build rods, but it was like my dad was like, "I will do anything to like, I see something special, I will do anything to help you, to promote you or whatever financially, anything that you need, any kind of help to, because he saw me and I was there, dude. We were there till 3 or 4 in the morning several times a week, like 15 to 18-hour days. And then over 7 days a week, like he saw that I wasn't giving up and he saw the results. He saw people come in and he saw people speaking really highly about it. First batch of hats sold out in like 24 hours. Like he saw that. So he was really on board and it kind of worked out because I was going to take over his business. My sister was really unhappy with her job at the time, so she ended up taking over the business. She's super happy now. I'm super happy with everything that we have now, and I still get that tremendous support from my parents. So it was from the beginning. He didn't think it was going to work out, man. So, but he's always been like it's been tough love my whole life with my dad. With my parents.
That's the way it should
So
be. That's the
yeah,
way it should be.
for sure, man. It was
That's
nothing was ever given to me. I definitely had to work for everything, but I really did get the support.
that's good.
So, it
Well,
was
we kind of talking about that. We kind of got into my next question. I've got written down here, and that was going to be how much because I see and through the social media and kind of talking to you about some stuff, I see how much she does, but how much is Jen responsible for in this business? It seems
dude.
like it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't see. Again, she was the one from day one that was by my side till 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting there trying to level epoxy or sanding it, and like since day one, she has not left my side. So just from that moral support in general to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, emails, Facebook, all the DMs. She has figured out, like our first video that hit 1 million views, like just the virality, I guess you call it, of like the videos and stuff, like that's all new to her. That's all like and tons of messages on all the platforms. So she's constantly just to give you an idea real quick. You ever go to a restaurant and you're with 7 or 8 people and you get a server that memorizes every single order and they
Yep.
don't write it down?
Yep.
That's Jen. Jen never made a mistake with that. Like she's just on point. So she's able to manage all of the social media and everything very well. But that's like such a small percentage of, she does all the taxes, the accounting. She gets us lunch every single day. Like she's making all the like Amazon orders, if little supply things that we need or whatever. um she's really like the do it all, when it comes to everything except for assembling rods. Pretty much she's packaging rods every single day. She's packaging orders, so she really does a lot, man. She's
Assembling the rods is only one small little part of that business.
yeah,
That's
and
kind of
that's
crazy to
that's
hear that she's handling literally the rest of the business.
yeah, exactly. The assembly of the rods is like it's a lot. So a couple of people that I've spoken to that have built rods for a living, that normally it turns into they have some kind of store where they're selling baits, live bait, ice, Doritos, whatever it is. Like that's really what was paying the bills. And these guys are building rods like when after hours, pretty much from like when the shop closes at 6, from like 6 to 10. In the beginning, I was only able to build like a few rods a week because I was just starting out. Now, I've built so many rods that I could build us. It really is like the assembly is such a small, like easy part of it. When I do custom builds, that quote starts with a phone call talking about handling, color, decals, this and that. Like there's so much that actually goes into it. The assembly has become such a small part. And then, Sam's been working with us since January full time now. And he does a lot of the assembly for the BTOs, but still a lot of the like every single BTO that he builds or any rod that he builds, I'm still cutting the blank. I'm balancing the blank, and I'm drilling out and reaming all the grips. So I do all of that. Sam kind of has a template, so he knows where the guide spacing goes. He dremels the guides, and then he wraps them and he aligns them. But as far as like assembly, there's times when I'll go 3 or 4 days without touching a fishing rod because, dude, I gotta like inventory and all the blanks and all the components we carry, the reel seats, the different sizes. Just to give you an idea, so on your on your BTO Plus, those running guides are a size 6. It's a Fuji K series size 6. So we have that guide in size 6 in aluminum oxide, phazlite, alkanite, silicon carbide, and torzite. That's just a size 6. I have them all the way from 4.5 up to 30. So like that that takes a lot of time too, is trying to keep up with, all that componentry. Um, so that's like that's another thing that I never thought would, I just never considered that going into the business was really keeping up with that much inventory. But when you're doing custom and when you're doing stuff like BTO Plus and you're offering different kind of guide options, like you got to have all that stuff on hand. We try to get these rods out within 1 to 2 weeks, and we've been on point with the BTOs to be out within 1 to 2 weeks for the last couple years.
Yeah, no,
So,
you've gotten me mine pretty quick.
mhm.
I get over the last few weeks, I've actually wound up getting a few people reaching out and asking me questions about the BTO series, especially the flip and stick and then the frog rod. And they're like, "What about turnaround time? The website says this." And I'm like, "Man, dude, I would reach out to Alex because I don't think it's that long." I'm like, "Man,
The
they're cranking
yeah.
those rods out pretty quick now."
So people may be coming across the page. Jen, that's another thing Jen does is the website. She's designed the entire website. She designed the entire like the options when you go to select your trim color, your guide material, all that. She did 100% of the website,
Jen built that
and
website.
she built that website. Yeah. So I think what people are seeing is they're going onto the website, and when you go to like Senko sticks, if you're anywhere near like custom, like we do have a custom lead time, and it is around 8 months at the moment. So that's why we dropped that BTO Plus, was where you have a semi-customizable line, and we're not having to tweak the guide spacing, we're not having to tweak the handle length all the time, and this and that. So that's
Oh,
something
when you
that's
say custom, you're talking like custom, custom. Like you're getting
yeah,
people want, hey, like I want the 7.6, but I want the handle like this,
yeah,
and
and
I want the guides, but I want like one here and one. So like you get orders like that coming in.
yeah, that's our 8 month lead time at the moment. So that's like just to give you an idea, we built Garrett, G Money, and Lauren. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They have like the golden retriever on the front deck all the time. They're fishing and arguing. They
I
they
think so.
they're pretty they're I mean they're very popular as far as like they have a very solid following on all platforms. Well, they ordered a rod from us. Well, he ordered a rod for his girlfriend, and she has a golden retriever, and so he sent Jen a bunch of photos of the golden retriever, and Jen made this collage, and she put it on the split grip section of the rod. And Jen had been doing collages already like that before, and he got the idea. He's like, "Hey, will you make Lauren a rod with their golden retriever on there?" And so we did that. They made a video of it, like an unboxing, and then we probably got like 20 to 25 orders of people that just wanted their dog on the rod. So that's like it's almost like it's a different custom that I'd be building for you, because you're more like performance. You don't want anything crazy flashy on there. You just want you want a fishing machine. That's pretty much what you're looking to get. So it's there's like several different variations of the business that we have now, but that custom is probably what people are seeing, that it's 8 months out. So, but that's
Gotcha.
like again, that's like where you're getting photos, you're throwing your logo on there. We're going back and forth with different fonts that you want for a decal or so, or any kind of wording. We've done ashes inside of in the fishing rod and the epoxy, human ashes. We've done
Really?
animal ashes. Yes, several rods like that. So we've built some really really cool sets, man, with ashes. Really cool sets.
That's wild. I didn't even know. I never even fathomed that that would be a thing.
Yeah, I didn't either, man, but People like that for sure.
That's
The
pretty
the
wild.
col the collages are probably the most popular, but I mean, even those collages, Eric, like, we've had other builders reach out and ask Jen to make those collages because she's just a whiz with it. I have no idea how she does it, but you could send her 10 photos and she just meshes them together. All she asks me is for the circumference of the blank and the area between the split grip that I give her, and she just comes up with this collage and scales everything and makes it look sick. I've figured out ways to make the epoxy as clear as possible, as level as possible. So it's just been like a perfect storm to create the product, the custom product that we do. But that's really like that was like from our day one was the whole custom thing, different color threads and all that. But really lately it's been leaning more towards a performance rod where we can increase the volume and build more product and not have as much of the confusion that comes with custom rods, because there's a lot of back and forth. Hey, can you change this? Not crazy about this color, maybe let's try these grips. There's a lot that comes with that, and that's where like that whole clash kind of came with the accountant. And he's like, hey, you're really not making money here to support your living kind of deal. So that's where we're like, okay, BTO plus. Sam's been working with us full time for 6 months. He's absolutely crushing it. We've kind of like simplified a rod build that a lot of people liked on the custom stuff, and then but it's been 1 to 2 weeks on the BTO plus side for since we started, pretty much.
That's good. That's good to know. So BTO Plus series, which is what I'm using, I can call you tomorrow
Yeah,
or go on the website and build a BTO Plus rod on the website, and it's going to be at my house in a couple weeks.
right.
That's good to know because I mean
Yeah.
like as far like for me those are custom rods. The rod builder on the website is awesome. I go on
Mhm.
there all the time and build little custom rods. So
That's
that's
another thing, man. Jen crushed it with that. She's working on the spinning rod side of things now. Um, she said it was going to be pretty easy to do, but we're kind of going to do the same thing with the spinning rods, where you can kind of select anything from like 6'6" all the way to 8 foot, and you're going from medium light to extra heavy. And then she's doing like an inshore thing too. So right now it's mainly all the casting stuff. But we have had a few people reach out and they're like, "Hey, we saw that you don't have a spinning rod on there." Um, so we've still been doing it, but those are people that have been reaching out to us directly.
that's pretty
So,
cool.
but it'll be up on the site soon.
I
But yeah,
don't
man, she does a lot. Can't just say it's just the social media. There's a lot. We're all
I
kind
don't
of
I don't know
very, very.
what you're paying Jen, but you might want to give her a raise, man. Sounds like
Yeah, no, I know,
she's doing quite a bit.
I know, man. We appreciate her a ton. She's definitely the best, man.
Dude, so let's talk about your buddy Sam. That was one of my questions. I follow you guys on all social media, so and I follow him,
Mhm.
and of course, like on Instagram, the stories all match each other from Sam to SCENKO STIX, and it just seems
Right.
like that guy's in the shop putting rods together like 24/7.
He's in here a lot, man. So funny story with Sam. So when we moved from that Boca Raton house to Boynton Beach, which is the house that was on the lake where I caught that popar fish, the it was like within the first few weeks of living in that house, my I was in the backyard with my sister. She was doing yard work. I was 5 years old, and Sam was fishing with his older brother Max in their backyard. They lived directly across the lake. I was bothering my sister, and she was like, "I'll give you $1 if you run over there and go make friends with them." And so I ran over there and met him. And dude, there hasn't been like more than a day where I haven't talked to that kid since. So he's like blood. I mean, and I was 5. He was in. So like, and I felt bad when someone would ask for help, and I wouldn't be able to kind of compensate him or pay him or anything like that. So it was at a point where like Sam was trying to figure out his career, and you know, we weren't. We were so tiny. Like there was the profit margins were so minuscule at the time, and like my rent was really low. My cost of living was really nothing, and there was no way that I'd be able to afford to to pay Sam, even if like per build the amount, just it just wouldn't make sense for the time that goes into the rod. And it just like he ended up doing fire school. He did the fire academy. He graduated. He did all that good stuff. And there was nothing more that I wanted for him to like work with us, but it just wouldn't work financially. The timing was off. And he went for several interviews, and he never got hired. And he kind of started like losing, as I don't want to say he lost motivation, but he just, after going to a few interviews and talking, we have a lot of friends that are firemen, and he didn't. It didn't seem like it was like something that he really wanted to do. He wanted a career, and he really wanted to work alongside us and help us out. And Jen honestly thought of the BTO series, dude. She thought of the BTO series, and Sam was going to build the BTO series. Sam was there from the first day that I built my first rod, almost 10 years ago. He was just, we were just hanging out. I was putting the rod together, had no idea what I was doing, and we were just hanging out. And then when I was building them in the apartment as the business started, I lived with Sam. So he was there like late nights watching me. He was just shadowing me. So he already knew how to wrap guides. Like he had a good idea of, how to build a fishing rod. I mean, there was Mudhole did like a video with us, and there's a video of Sam during COVID, like rotating a rod while we're watching a movie on the couch because I didn't have enough dryers. So he was sitting there just rotating a rod like this on the couch. But yeah, so it just over time, it kind of all like the timing clicked, and I was like, all right, well, Sam's crushing it on the BTOs. We're gonna keep figuring out, do limited editions, different. He's gonna get better and better with the builds, and yeah, it was like this, like kind of the same deal where he's like, man, he wasn't like crazy about continuing with the interviews and trying with different departments and whatnot, and it worked out for us, and he was working part time with Boar's Head, and then part time with us, kind of the same deals. Like, hey, like if you guys start getting more rods into tackle stores, and you can look at the numbers and see if they work out, Sam could build those tackle store rods. And my dad was like, do it. He's like, you're wasting time. He's like, do it. Dude, Sam put us 2 weeks in at Boar's Head, and we just hit the ground running since January. And it's just like we just been going. And yeah, Sam's, the amount that he has sacrificed and the amount he's helped. Like, there's times when we got to be like, all right, Sam, we got to wrap it up, man. Like, you got to go home, dude. He loves building. It's crazy. Like, you know, he'll you know he'll do whatever he does on the weekends. For his chill time, his like unwinding time. He'll text me on Sunday night, bro. I can't wait to get back in the shop. Monday morning.
That's a
So
guy who loves his craft right there.
yeah, and I mean, like before the business and before anything or any kind of consideration of Senko sticks in general, Sam was the best employee at every job he's ever worked at. And I mean, I was his best friend. We talked every single day. So like, dude, never didn't matter what job it was, never took off, was always on time, and his word is 100% legit. Like very very honest. Like if I'm making a mistake or if I'm slipping up, he tells me. I'm not afraid to tell him. Like there's never been any kind of like altercation between the two of us. We're really really honest with each other, and if one of us is needs to get smacked, like it's like, yo, like you're doing, like, do you realize what you're doing? And there's just been a really good mutual respect. So from a lot of people say like, oh, should you guys go into business together? It might, it's terminated a lot of friendships in the past. um and it's just something that's really never crossed my mind with Sam, because I mean, I look at him as an employee. He's such a good hard worker at anything he does. So it's I mean, even fishing, he's a freaking stick, dude. He's in the back of the boat. He's won an ABA, a BFL, like kicks my ass in the back of the boat all the time. Like he's a good dude, man. We're so grateful for everything that he sacrificed and the time that he puts in, because he puts in a lot of time, man.
I was gonna say it seems like that guy puts in a lot of work at the shop building rods.
Yeah. He does, and he's doing a lot more with social media now too because he sees that it helps. You
Yeah.
know, he's doing a lot more content and whatnot, and I mean, he sees that it works. You know, we have a couple of like, I mean, you call them influencers, but it doesn't matter what they're doing, whether they're like cutting grass or they're surfing or whatever. But we, you know, we follow them and we watch what they're doing, and it's working, and they're growing their brand and they're growing their businesses, and it's just kind of like what people are doing nowadays. It's why so many professional fishermen today have gotten dropped from their sponsors because the companies don't see a return. It's and he's really been crushing it when it comes to the social media and the content lately. And I'm sure you saw he stirred the pot the other day with the reel the fish and reel video that he did.
Yeah.
I mean, it did, it's pretty
Yeah.
cool because like Sam was like, bro, I got an idea. I was like, all right. So like he kind of caught me like, I mean, you saw my hair in that video. I like just woke up. Like he's like, let's make a video. And it ended up doing really good. It got a bunch of views, a bunch of people arguing with each other right now still,
Bro,
I'm
I
sure.
watched it and I started to comment on it because everything about that video goes against everything I tell people.
Uh-huh.
I get so many clients on this boat that, and so like I have a whole list of questions that I have to text my clients the night before a trip so that I can
Right.
be, prepared to give them the best experience possible.
Right.
One of them is, are you okay with bait casters or do you need spinning rods? Well, yeah, bait casters are fine. Okay, are you a lefty or a righty? And the response that I get more times than not is, I'm right-handed, I reel on the left side. And I'm like, well, that's not right. That's not right. And I get people out there, and so, and you're obviously a stick, so this doesn't apply to you, right? So, but like, and it's been a huge like pet peeve of mine is all the bass fishermen I've ever seen that have the worst hook set and the worst hookup ratios, especially flipping and frogging, are the
Uh-huh.
guys that are right-handed and use lefty bait casters. The
Really?
hook set just doesn't work that way. I'm like, the mechanics of your body work better to hold the rod in your left hand and have that cranking power and that swinging ability the other way from what you said in the video. And I was just like, God, I wanted to comment on there and be like, no, it's the other way.
Oh, dude, did you read some of the comments?
No, no, dude,
There's
I stay out of comments because I start, man, I start getting off, and I
Yeah.
want to start turning all boomer on these guys and being like,
Yeah.
no, you're wrong. Blah.
Oh, Jen does it with the rod building stuff, and it's just like you can go all day with it.
Bro,
But
I see the
there's
ones on Facebook. All the stuff that y'all post on Facebook and some of the bull crap
Yeah.
that gets spewed in the
Oh
comment
man,
section, man. And it's funny because like
it's
Jen's like
crazy.
right there standing on business, bro. And I'm like,
Yeah.
golly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's but no, in the comments though, like I would say it's a good 50-50. But for me, I'm a lot different though because I throw a baseball with my right hand, but anything like when I'm putting epoxy on, I can use my left or my right hand. When I'm writing, I use my left hand. So I'm ambidextrous. I use both of my hands for a lot of
Man, so you
things.
are right hand dominant, but you right left handed.
Yeah, I'm more accurate with my left, but I'm more powerful with my right, if that makes sense. So
You are 100% ambidextrous.
yeah, so man, as far as like reeling with my left, it's very natural for me. So, but obviously, dude, at the end of the day, like there's going to be people like there was a couple of pros, even like elite guys that said, no, like we do the same thing. We cast with our dominant hand and we retrieve with our non-dominant hand. So like, and then there were guys like there were some guys that were like, yo, you guys are bums. Like we got torn apart too. But I mean, I've been torn apart my whole life with it. Like since I put a bait caster in my hand, I've gotten made fun of. So Sam was like, "Yo, let's trigger some people today," and I was like, "All right, whatever, we'll do it." And he was like, "All right, I'm just gonna put this reel in your hand, dude." He started videoing. He did all the captions, and the video went pretty viral. Like it did pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it worked. I watched it and I was sitting there like, no, no, that's not right. That's not right at all. What are
We
you
knew,
talking
we
about?
knew it. We knew that was gonna happen, man. That's funny.
That's funny, dude. Sam's a trip. But yeah, no, the social media, dude, talking about like having to be prevalent on social media. One thing about it, any business you're in, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah.
If you're not out there making noise, nobody's going to hear you.
Right. It's so true, man. And
Yeah.
that's like, I've been on top of Jen for a really long time as far as like posting and like the consistency part of it. And it's like every day, but for her, it becomes super overwhelming too. Cause again, she's not just doing that social media aspect of it. So it's and then running all the platforms, like some guys will have, where you can have like all of your platforms in one app, and when you post,
Mhm.
it posts to everything. Like she doesn't trust that, because she's like, hey, like what happens if that app somehow gets, our username or whatever, and then we lose every single app. So she does like everything, um, you know, independently on each platform, which takes more time,
Yeah, but it's probably better that way.
just to be safe. Yeah, because we hear about people getting their accounts hacked and whatnot all the time, and we really rely on social media for. I mean, that's where we get a majority of our orders from. So it's it's been a learning experience, and she's been crushing it for sure.
Yeah, no, it sounds that way. Sounds that way.
And you just gotta, you gotta. We've kind of figured out how to get creative with it. Like there was one day, right, like with the rapping videos. I know a lot of people like them, and then there's some tournament guys don't care for them, for example. But like the rapping video, she randomly just started videotaping me. When I build a custom rod, I'm doing that to every single guide, all the way to the tip top. So I'm sitting there like I'm combing every guide with the burnishing tool. Like every single guide wrap is getting that attention to detail on every single custom rod I've ever built. The BTO and the expansion series, we've learned how to strategically build those to where we don't have to take those tools out, because those are our speed rods. But that's why like we started doing those wrapping videos, is because she saw it picked up in the algorithm. There's a lot of builders that are doing it now too, and other companies that are doing those wrapping videos. But we didn't, that was just something that kind of came out of like Jen's creativity of like, hey, like you're doing a lot to this guide. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to videotape you. The video did well. We kept doing it, kept doing well. Then we started doing it on TikTok, and we're like, holy crap, like last month TikTok paid for all of our dates and our groceries because of those videos. So it turned into, a lot of different like ways that we could, kind of be creative to get the word and brand exposure out there. So she's got like, dude, the analytics are crazy. We like in the last 90 days, we've gotten like 100 million views across every single one of our platforms combined. And I
That's a
think
lot.
the quarter before that, it was like around 60 million. So like it's steady, growing.
That's a
So
lot. That's a lot.
yeah,
That's good.
for
So
sure.
my wife just commented on our little live feed, wanting to know if you can make her a custom carbon fiber black rod with pink accents.
Of course. Cut so it depends on how, so you would be able to, I think we have pink in the BTO plus, because there wouldn't be a wait time on that.
Yeah,
So we can.
I'm pretty sure I've seen the pink in the BTO plus stuff.
Yeah, so it would be, exactly like your flipping stick, but everything is pink. Like all the trim areas and the decals are pink. But if she wanted something like with her name or like flowers on it or something like, some kind of different customization, or like different shades of pink in the guide wraps, then it would be more, that custom.
Well, there you go, Rachel. Get you a custom pink Rachel Tilson photography SCENKO STIX rod. My
Yeah.
wife's actually pretty good at bass fishing.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
no, it's funny. You were talking earlier about the tournament where you and Jen dropped the 36 on everybody out there. My wife and I won a couples derb out of Toho. I think it was the year of COVID, if I remember correctly, and I think we had 33 or 34 that day.
Dang.
But yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
she can fish with the best of them.
dude, to catch a bag like that with your significant other, like it's a whole nother level. Like
Yeah,
it's one thing doing it with a dude or like with another hammer, but to do it with your significant other, because she can catch them because of you. So it's like, I'm sure you taught her everything, right? As far as bass fishing goes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. It's super special.
So
It's different. It's different.
did Jen learn bass fishing from you then?
Yeah.
No previous experience.
No, none at all. And
Wow.
dude, I'd put her against just about any guy on Okeechobee. They
Really?
know. They know yeah, they know. She can catch them.
Throwing a frog?
Yeah. Sometimes she throws it a little too much.
Yeah.
There's just days when I'm like, "Oh, you've been throwing that thing for 3 hours and you haven't gotten not even one to get under it." Like,
Freaking 100 degrees and bluebird sky day. Put that frog down.
yeah, she's like, "No, keep popping it."
All it takes is one giant to come up and eat it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And then there'll be days when I'm like, "They're not gonna eat that thing," and then they eat it, of course. You know how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, she can catch them. She's good with the chatter trap too, and chatterbait, rattle trap, speed worm. She's really good flipper too. Really good flipper.
That's pretty cool.
I think there was a tournament earlier this May. We had a little under 31. We ended up getting second. And she put the video on YouTube, but there was one that was a little over 6 and it was hung up on a branch and it was in a way so that I couldn't get the net underneath it. And I cooked it, dude. I had the fish in my hand and it just took one more shake and I got sketched with the hook and it came off. But that was a $10,000 fish, I think. I mean, we got the check. We got $3,500 in that tournament, which was super nice. But I think we would have had it with that fish.
There's a big difference between 3,500 and 10 grand, buddy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If I was Jen, I would have broke that fishing rod across your head, dude. Oh man. I'd have been
Yeah,
like, yep, that was your fault.
I cooked that one for sure. That was 100% my fault. She had it, man. It was on there. The thing was jumping up on the branch for like 10 seconds. We were both watching it, and I was like, I can't get the net, and I literally had it in my hands.
Mm,
But you know how that goes.
mm, that's painful. I've seen it
Yeah.
happen. Well,
But we were
dude, I was gonna say, I don't want to take up any more of your time, man. We've been on here for 71 minutes now, and
sweet.
my wife is starting to drop a whole bunch of goofy comments on here now, talking about she's been fishing long before me, which she has, but she's just been bluegill fishing in canals like a hood rat. But
Yeah, I don't know. There's like one photo that Jen has. She was probably like 7 or 8 years old, sitting on a dock, and she's holding a rod, and she looks so uninterested in the pick. But she enjoys it. We're gonna hit the lake tomorrow. We haven't been out there in almost 4 months, or about 3.5 months. So we're gonna go and run around tomorrow and see if we can. We got a couple tournaments coming up, so see if we can still remember how to catch them.
it's that time of year. It's time to get back out on the water. It seems like,
Yeah,
I don't know about down there, but at least up here in Central Florida, I think, especially tomorrow morning, I'm sitting out here in the garage. I got the garage door open, and I can feel like a little cooler, drier air
yeah.
rolling in here. It's supposed to be like 69 in the morning here.
Oh dang, tomorrow.
So yeah,
Oh, they're gonna feel that.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. They've
Yeah.
been eating here the last few days. It's been slowly slowly cooling off a little bit, and seems like it's got those big girls chewing, especially on top. I've been
Dang.
wearing that frog rod out.
Sweet. Heck yeah. Yeah, we haven't felt anything down here, which is crazy because we're only like 2.5, 3 hours away from you. But maybe tomorrow we'll feel something. It's always a little cooler out on Okeechobee too. I'm like 30 minutes from the south end.
Bro, that lake gets freaking cold down there, son. I'm telling you
Yeah.
what, a long time ago, I used to go down there and fish. So growing up, I fished a trail with my grandfather out there. It was called Southern Bass Trails of America. This is a long time ago. This is back whenever monthly club trail derbs would pull 90 to 100 boats. Okay.
Dang.
Yeah. No, this was back in, I can't read the fine print on the plaque from here. I got my plaque wall and trophy wall over there, but I want to say this is like 98 or 99.
Mhm.
Uh, we used to go down there for the end of the season championships, and it was always January, February, I feel like. And dude, man, I've fished some cold, I'm talking miserable cold days, windy days on Okeechobee, man. Just
Yeah.
like crazy cold, windy too. Like always blowing 30 out of the north and
Oh
be
yeah.
like 34 degrees that morning. And it just sucks out there. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy because it's like 3-4 hours south of here, and you'd think it'd be a lot warmer down there. And it seems like that wind cuts you in two.
Yeah, it's definitely different out there. It's crazy. And you can like different sections of the lake, the temperature like dramatically changes too, which is nuts. You feel it in the morning. I mean, I'm sure it's on Toho like that too, where you hit a certain section of the lake and you can feel like a 10-degree difference. Do you have that?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, so it's like that on the lake, and some areas just get so cold, man. And like you said, when that wind starts coming out of the north like that, it's like it's pretty it's blistering
Yeah,
without a
it gets
doubt.
brutal down there, but you guys are pretty flat down there. There's nowhere to
Yeah.
get out of the wind down there.
Yeah, literally. That's true.
What about the river? Is the river still cranking out all the bigs, or is the lake out producing the river right now?
Um,
Last time I was following anything about Okeechobee, everyone was going up in the river and scoping them.
yeah. So I've been fishing that lake for about 15 years now. Dude, I've never went and looked for a bass in the river, and this was probably one of my worst years as far as like tournament finishes in the last like year. And it's because everything was won in that river. Like, dude, everybody was catching giant, just I mean, it had the correct habitat, with the condition of the lake. Everything was just favoring the river. I'm sure you can go in there right now and catch them in there still. Especially with right now, it's still like from the last couple weeks, the tournament weights that I've seen have been down to like 11 pounds for like whether it's like a local tournament on a Sunday or a club tournament being like 13, 14 pounds. So it's super low. Um, so as far as like the river still being a player, we got a couple tournaments coming up in the next few weeks. I guarantee you someone's gonna crack a bag out of the river. And like what you saw, with the elites when they came down, like it's holding a lot of big fish, and water, the wind doesn't really affect the water in there too much. And it's something that I never really had interest in fishing, but probably, considering I'm putting money on the line to fish a tournament, I probably should spend some time in there, but I've been too stubborn, and I've been just trying to, was trying to figure out the lake this year. And that didn't really happen until that jig bite turned on when the lake dropped and the water cleaned up everywhere. And then the lake fired off. But there were guys still doing 35 pounds in the river,
Yeah,
even when the lake dropped. So,
they live in there, that's for sure.
yeah. Have you
Not really
fished
my
it?
kind of a deal. I don't. I'm not going to go to Okeechobee to fish in the freaking river, dude.
Yeah.
You know
And
what I'm
that's,
saying? Like I'm not. I'm not going to Okeechobee to go live scope fish out of a river. It's just I'd
yeah.
rather go. I'd rather go flip and frog the lake and take a loss.
And that's been my mentality, and that was from like December to March. I didn't do anything out there. I mean, I was consistent. I'd catch 15, 18 pounds, but there were guys jacking, big bags in the river. And it was just it's the same thing, man. Like I go to the lake to go fish grass. I want to fish grass, and I don't know. I like to pick stuff apart, and I don't really. I have the screen. I got it, but I still much rather fish off, instinct and what I can see as far as grass and whatnot. That's what I love to do. If I loved fishing in a different way, then I'd probably learn all that stuff and maybe learn the river and fish, but I never wanted to fish for like a living when it came to tournaments and stuff like that. So that's just purely fun. So I'd rather go down fishing in the grass, pretty
That's
much.
me. I've
Yeah.
had more fun bass fishing the last few months. I've really spent a lot more time leaving that screen turned off up front and
Yeah.
not trolling around everywhere, chunking a $300 glide bait and a freaking that
Yeah.
at a fish I see on the screen all day on a fairy wand on 10-pound braid. I'm just like
Yeah.
I'm done with it, dude. I'm done. And like,
Yeah.
I hate to sound like all the, the haters that are all over bass and their comments and stuff like that, but like, dude, like I'm kind of, man, I'm a big live scope guy. I love to use it, man, and I'm pretty good at it. But I'm also getting to the point where I'm like, all right, dude, this is getting stupid now. Like, it's so much more fun and exciting, and like, so like my YouTube channel is not a big YouTube channel by any stretch of the imagination. I've got some views, or I got videos that do pretty good, and I've got videos that do not so good. And it seems like the videos that I was doing early on, like last year, where I was really trying to make a lot of like live scope videos and like show
Mhm.
the screen and stuff like that. Dude, those videos didn't do real well at all.
They
But
didn't?
no, hell no. People don't want to watch that crap, man.
Yeah.
Well, like you go out there and go chuck a frog onto a mat and have a 9 pounder blow that frog in the sky and,
Right.
wearing a chesty cam and freaking hammer a frog into her dome on 45-pound braid. That video will have, 50,000 views by 9 o'clock tonight.
Right, right.
That's what people want to see.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I mean, well, obviously, we noticed it with, building fishing rods. A lot of people ask us for minnow rods. It's something that I have no idea about that. If I have my screen on, it's on perspective mode. I've never caught a fish in forward mode, but I haven't had it on there for that long. So I mainly use it for perspective to find bluegill beds or whatever in the dirtier water, just for example. So when it comes to like that technique, you talked to me a little bit about like a spinning rod, but I have a general idea now of like what the guys are liking as far as, the minnow rod and whatnot, but I don't know if it's something that's going to last much longer.
I
I
think I
just,
really, 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 and the complaints about it and people wanting it banned in professional fishing
yeah.
really started taking off last year. So a couple weeks ago, one morning, BASS posted on their Instagram this last Elite Series tournament that was at the Mississippi River where everyone was catching their fish frogging.
Hmm.
That like it got X number of views and it set a new record for watch and all sorts of stuff. And I got curious and I was like, man, first of all, why do they even have to post anymore about how many views that these tournaments are getting and how many people they influence and stuff? They never used to have to post about that kind of crap. And so
Right.
I hopped on their Facebook page and scrolled as far back as I could possibly even go. And it took me back to, it was like January of 2023.
Hmm.
They didn't start posting trying to boast about how many views each one of their tournaments got until last year. And it's because of forward facing sonar driving viewership down.
Right.
And I think it's a business strategy. Well, if we tell people that 15 million people tuned in and watched 5 minutes of this tournament
Yeah.
before they saw that it was all live scope and turned it off, mind you, because like whether you watched like this video right here, for example, like right now we have 3 people watching it, but over the
Hmm.
entirety of it, I will have had 3,000 people that have tuned in, watched it for a minute or two, and then went and watched
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
I could take that number and try to boast about it and be like, oh yeah, this live with Alex Terescenko got 3,000 views in an hour. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah. Well, I mean, how long did they actually stay and watch that?
Yeah.
Who knows? But Bass never used to have to post about those numbers. And
Right.
I think they're having to post about those numbers because number one, I think viewership in professional bass fishing is dying. I
Hmm.
think professional tournament fishing is dying.
Right.
And
Well, for sure.
I think live scope is, as much as I hate to say it because I like using my live scope, I think it's almost the culprit. I think it's to blame.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. I agree without a doubt. It's definitely a huge part of it.
It's turned bass fishing into something that's not real enjoyable to watch anymore. Like if I want to go watch a bass tournament anymore and I'm on YouTube on the TV in the living room, I always go to like 2010 FLW recap Lake
Yeah.
Okeechobee or like
Yeah.
2012 FLW Lake Okeechobee.
Yep.
The old stuff like when Greg Bohannon in the Pringles boat had that six
The Big
pounder
Easy bite.
blow that big easy out of the sky like five
You can
feet off the
watch that
deck
a
of the
million times.
boat, dude. That's bass fishing we don't see anymore.
Yeah,
You
no,
know what
it's
I
so
mean? Like we
true.
don't see that stuff anymore. You
Yeah.
see some dude standing with his feet together, holding a
And his
spinning
rod behind his
rod.
head,
Yeah,
his rod behind
freaking
his
with
head like it was just trolling.
like, dude, like
Yeah.
it's just like, what even is this, man? So I don't know. I don't know how much longer the live scope's going to be around. You
Mhm.
know, part of me wants to be like, well, they'll never get rid of it. The companies like Lowrance, Garmin, and Humminbird, they put too much money into the sport. You're
Yeah.
talking some top tier financial sponsorship there that
Oh yeah.
keeps the sport alive and is paying the
Yeah.
bills. They're not going to. I don't foresee them just completely getting rid of it,
Right.
but
Well, they're
there
already putting
again,
some limits on it. I saw.
they are putting some limits on it, which I think is and the way that they're constructing these limits is changing each year, and I still think they're struggling with it because this next year basketball, they did the little coin toss thing, and it's like they're going to use it not in this tournament, but they'll allow it for this tournament, not for this
Yeah.
tournament, and they'll allow it for that tournament. And it's like, for me, it's like, okay, well, this is stupid. It's such a waste of time. Either completely limit it or don't limit it at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I see the whole live scope thing. If you're gonna start imposing limits on it, you might as well just say you can't have it.
Yeah. 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 And that might be the way that it eventually, ends up. It could.
Who knows? I don't know.
So I mean, as far as like the tournament scene, and I feel like I'm so out of that stuff, man. It's I don't know, and I
I am
think
too. I mean, dude, it got well. Like for me, and I'm not a boomer, but I'm gonna sound like a boomer whenever I start going off on this little rant. But anymore, whenever I tune into the Elite Series, it's a bunch of guys I've never heard of before.
right.
And they got there through the Bassmaster Opens EQ stuff because like they did really well in the Centrals or something like that, and it's like, who even is this kid? Like half the 3/4 of the field that fished the Bassmasters Classic this year. It's like, who are these people?
It's true. Yeah.
There's
It's
like
true.
people you've never even heard of before
Yeah.
are the Elite Series, and if the way it's going anymore, especially with live scope, you know it took years of skill out of it because now a kid that's fresh out of high school can go out there and compete on the Elite Series because he doesn't need to have 10, 15, 20 years of skilled experience fishing bodies of water all over the country.
Yeah.
As long as mom and dad have an obscene amount of money to get him going, or like what we saw a few years ago with the open stuff, to hire and pay someone a year's salary, give this dude a truck and a boat. Here is next year's open schedule. We need you to go to each one of these places and do as much research as you can. Give
Hmm.
all that research back to our son before those lakes go off limits, so
Yeah.
that
That's
he has
insane.
like the stuff that's been going on recently. Over the last couple of years is just it's I don't know, man. It's not about who's good anymore. It's
Right.
like it's turned into who can get away with the most
Yeah.
without getting caught. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know anymore. If it continues down the path it's going in 10 years from now, the Elite Series will basically be the high school college series.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all going to be a bunch of 20, 21-year-old kids on the Elite Series.
Right.
It's bad enough now because I don't pay attention to it anymore because it's boring and I don't know who any of these guys are. And
Yeah.
if it gets much worse with all these like really, really, really young guys just kind of taking over the
Hmm.
Elite Series, I'm really not going to watch it anymore.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it's gone that way, but I mean, I feel the same way as far as not knowing any of these guys, man, and not knowing how they got there, where, like not discrediting their fishing ability and the way that they catch them. Like, sure, they can, the way to catch them today is so much different. But like you're saying, like those years of experience, like there's so much more value in that,
Yeah,
as just like a instinctive fisherman. Like it's just the sport's changing so much, and that's kind of why. And the same deal, just not really watching it anymore, and not keeping up with it as much. And if we have guys using our rods or whatever, we always have the live on in the shop, and we're watching that. But as far as like watching fishing and watching who the next big thing is, like none of that stuff interests me at all. Just and it's unfortunate that it's that way, but that's how I feel. I think a lot of people feel that way, and that's why they have to talk about these numbers to just be like, hey, no, look, we are getting this view count, but in reality, it might be people tuning in and then be like, oh no, screw this, I'm shutting it off, kind
yeah.
of deal.
And I
So,
agree with you. I think that's what it's turned into.
yeah.
I don't know. So that kind of sort of answers my next question. Is the last question I was going to ask you. Are you yay or nay on forward facing sonar?
So for me, like I look at it as it being just another tool, something that you got to have. Like as far as if you're going to compete and put your money down, you got to have it.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, you got to have it. That's if it's legal, you got to have it. If it's allowed on your boat, you got to have it because
Yep.
there's no. It was that first Toyota that I fished. I didn't have it, and Eric, I almost had 3 or 4 pros almost hit me because they weren't looking. They were just on it, and they weren't making casts, and I'm like, "What am I freaking casting to?" I'm casting, I'm throwing my chatterbait around, and I'm like, "Man, this guy didn't make a cast in 5 minutes, so he doesn't see any fish. What the heck am I casting to?" So it's like those first few bigger tournaments that I fished when I saw people had it, and then I watched a guy catch 25 pounds in an hour, and I couldn't get a bite, and I was like, "What the heck?" And every single one he was casting to with a jerkbait, and we were in the sticks, like we were in the dead Reed Bay, and he was able to see them all. And I watched him catch 25 pounds, and after that, I was like, the next tournament I do well in or whatever, like I have to put money aside, and I got to get this thing because. And then I got it, found some bluegill beds in dirty water, and won a BFL like 2 weeks later
So it worked
because I
for you.
because I because I found the bluegill beds with the scope. Yep, I found an area where it kind of set up like a triangle, so I put my boat in the middle, and I was able to kind of target each area where the clusters were at. And then I figured out like the cadence and how to fish the bait just off of like fishing a different cadence. I was just barely making the blade tick on the chatterbait through these clusters, and but I found the area and how to dial it in with the live scope 100% with the perspective mode. But I didn't like I said, I've never seen a fish and casted to it and caught it, but I was able to find like, okay, this is what I'm fishing. The water's dirty as crap, but this is how they're going to set up, and it's helped me. I mean, it was like 2 or 3 weeks after I put it on, I won that tournament.
That had to have been a wild feeling.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, it was. It's
man,
like,
what have I
man.
been missing out on this whole
Yeah,
time?
exactly. So I'm for it for sure. Um, I think it has been a primary tool. I would like to see it more as like maybe just a tool, but then again, we get into the topic of like limiting it and stuff. And I think to an extent, when you hear that guys have like so many transducers, I don't know what some of the guys are up to on their boat, but I've heard that guys have like, you can put them like towards the back of your boat where you're idling and you see to your left or right, like all different types of angles and whatnot, and that you can have several of them on there.
Yeah, they
Um,
got. I know Bass stuff got rid of that. Bass got to where you were only allowed to have one transducer on the boat,
okay.
and then they also started limiting the amount of screen space as far as inches go on how many graphs you can have.
Yeah, I read that the other day. I think like 55 inches or something, right?
Yeah. So last year I was running in 2024. Yeah, 2000. I think in 2023, maybe when I was fishing a lot of the Lakeland Bassmaster stuff over here, the Florida Bass Nation. I was running two on the trolling motor and one on the back of the boat on the jack plate.
Okay, so
That
while you're
was,
idling,
yeah. I was idling. I was using. I had. I've always run two graphs on the console. I got a 15 and a 12, and I was running the 15 on side imaging, and I was running the 12 on Humminbird Mega Live. And like I could idle by a brush pile with it, and as soon as the brush pile would come into view on the live, I would throw the boat in neutral or back it up and stop the boat movement real quick
hmm,
and just watch it for a few seconds and see how much life was on that brush pile.
right?
And if it was a good brush pile, had a lot of life on it, I'd put like a certain type of waypoint on it and just keep moving.
Okay,
And I was able to really speed up my practice on a lot of these lakes around here because I wasn't getting up, throwing the trolling motor down, making a couple casts, see how many bites I get on one brush pile. If I
yeah,
idled by it and it was a dead pile, I'd put a waypoint on it with like a red X for dead. And then 2 days later on a tournament day, I'd come back and I had all my good piles marked out that were really good a couple of days ago, and those were the ones that I would just focus on.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was
It's
good. It sped things up a lot for me.
oh
You know,
yeah. It's from like a practice perspective and hitting a new lake or something like that, you can cover water so well with it.
yeah, because like I
Without a
said,
doubt.
over the course of an 8 hour day, every time you want to check something, you got to shut the motor off, get up on the front deck, throw the trolling motor down, spin around, you
Yeah.
know, roll through a whole bunch of lures. Because a lot of these lakes around here, for me, if I see that like a shell bar or brush pile has bass on it, I know that they'll eat something.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and I'll usually figure that out on tournament day. I know at a minimum they'll eat a plastic worm,
Hmm.
right? But tournament day I'll pull up there and cycle through all the stuff. So on
Yeah.
practice day, if I saw just from idling with the live scope on the back of the boat, okay, well this thing has a bunch of fish hanging out around it.
Yeah.
I'm not getting up and throwing in there today.
Right. Yeah.
So it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
But
It's I don't know. I mean, I was in the like when I first heard about it and I was watching it and this and that, I was really just like it gave me a very, very bad taste in my mouth. But once I got it and I realized what it could do and the fact that, it maybe leveled even though I didn't have as many transducers, but whatever. The fact that I had it and I was able to see underwater, it like to give you that to level the playing field kind of deal. I definitely think it's like I mean Jen calls it cheater scope. Like she'll even be looking at that thing like she's like, you see anything on that cheater scope? Like it's just it works, man.
that's
You can
hilarious, dude. My wife says the exact same thing. It's funny. We live on a little private lake here, and we'll be out there fishing a brush pile, and she makes fun of me because I'm so worried about throwing at little individual fish that I'm seeing on the scope or whatever, and she's just back there dragging her worm and catching fish. I'm like, oh wait, the screen didn't show you how to catch this one.
yeah, yep.
It's like no, Rachel, it didn't.
Yeah, it's
Funny.
I don't know. I'm we'll see what happens with it, man. I mean, we'll see.
Like I said, I don't have anything against it. I just think that limits are stupid. If once you've reached a point in the sport where you have to start imposing limits,
Yeah.
I feel like you might as well just take it away from them.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, we heard you. We see the numbers decreasing. We see, we see the fan base decreasing overall. Like we hear you, so we're going to limit it. But it's like not everybody. They're not going to get everybody back that way,
No.
you know. And then but the next thing, what's going to happen is they're probably going to see one of the. I don't know how they're doing it, or because there's certain tournaments. I don't know how many tournaments that they're fishing with it and how many they're fishing without it. Um, I don't know if exactly what I read because I was just like scanning through it really fast. But if I'm not mistaken, there's going to be events that they don't know yet whether or not they can use it. Right, the elites.
I don't know. I don't know about that. As far as the Elite Series goes, I thought that they had flipped a coin. They did a coin toss, and they determined which events because they went live from Bassmaster Studio with it. Like tune in as we do the coin toss to decide which events for next year's Elite Series is going to be allowed to use live scope and which ones aren't.
Okay.
So I don't know. And
Yeah.
then
So like,
like yesterday or the day before, I think it was yesterday, they released the open schedule, and the open schedule are already predetermined. So like division and God, they've got it broken, dude. And it's like all the divisions and everything going on with the opens, and then the open EQs and all this other stupid crap anymore. It's like there's so many different divisions to try to keep up with. But like Division One of the opens, the first event, which is going to be on Toho in January of next year,
mhm,
is a no live scope event. You're not going to be allowed to use live scope for that one. The next one, which goes to wherever, they're going to be allowed to use live scope on that one. And then the one after that, they're not going to be allowed to use. So, like in the opens next year, they're just hopping.
okay, but you're not
Yeah.
sure about the elites.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen it. Like I said, I'm pretty sure they did a coin toss for the Elite Series, and
Okay,
they
because I
determined which ones are not going to be allowed to use it and which ones are. They did it via coin toss.
so maybe they're just gonna base the numbers off their viewership. If people find out that they're not allowed to use scope and they get more views, Maybe that's like maybe that's like the idea behind limiting it. You know what I mean? I
I
don't
think
know.
over the period of a full year, I think they'll be able to say, okay, well, on the Elite Series, we saw a huge spike in viewership on the events that had no live scope.
Yeah.
But then the very next event where they had live scope, we saw a significant drop in viewership.
Right.
But of course, after 2026 is over, what they're going to do with that data, who knows? You know,
Yeah.
are
Well, I
they
could.
are they really going to try to use that data and say, okay, well, live for this from 2027, there will be no live scope at all?
Mhm.
I don't foresee it ever coming to that point. I don't think there
Yeah.
will ever be a complete ban on forward facing sonar. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's too much money that
Yeah.
gets
That's what it comes
invested into
down
the
to.
sport from those companies that manufacture those products.
Right. That's what it comes down to.
You know,
Yeah.
so
That's true.
I don't know. But dude, we're gonna leave it at that.
All right, man.
I'm gonna get off of here. We have talked long enough. But man, I'm glad that you came on here to this little live. It'll take about 3 days for a 100-minute long live stream to upload to the channel. But once it finally does upload to the channel, everybody will be able to come back down here and watch all this cool stuff and learn a lot about you and the brand SCENKO Sticks.
Sweet, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on here. And maybe we could do something again one day with Sam and Jen
Need to get
on
you on the
here or
boat with
something
me up
like
here on
that.
Togo, buddy.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be the coolest. We need to etch out a day where it's just nothing but frogs. Me
Well,
and
that'd be,
you, nothing but two. We just bring two SCENKO Sticks frog rods out there.
heck yeah, that sounds like a good day to me. For
So,
sure.
but all right, dude, I'm gonna let you go. I'm
All
sure
right, man.
you got an early morning. I do. So, but we'll talk at you later, buddy.
All right, sounds good. Thanks
All
again,
right,
Eric.
see you, man.
I'll see you.